The number one reason why people never escape their comfort zone is fear. Fear of ending up in a worse position than you started, fear of disappointing others, fear of failing publicly, and fear of ending up broke. And did you know that almost 70% of all people usually stay in the same environment, habit, and routines for years, even if they are deeply unhappy? And the wild part is that people who continuously avoid discomfort usually end up experiencing more stress, more regret, and lower life satisfaction than people who actually take risks. And for a long time, I was living in my comfort zone as well. I had a good job, I had steady paychecks, I had the same friends, and I was living in the city that I grew up in. I wasn't exactly unhappy, but I also didn't feel like growing a lot. But once I understood what I'm gonna share in this video, everything changed for me. Because I started to implement healthy habits, I quit my job, I moved abroad multiple times, I started a company, I started investing in real estate, and now most recently I started this YouTube channel. And now looking back at the past 10 years of me living outside my comfort zone, I can say that the hardest decisions were the ones that now shaped my life for the better. But back then, the same decisions felt very scary, very big, and that's why most people would never have taken that step. Because if stepping outside your comfort zone, no matter what you're trying to achieve, is scaring you, it should. But the cost of not moving ahead and staying where you are is even scarier. My name is Simon and I'm an accountability partner. Over the past 3 years, I have coached a lot of people, helping them to define and reach their goals by implementing systems and tools in order to hold them accountable. I'm very passionate about this topic because those systems and tools have helped me to build a life that I always wanted. On this channel, I share weekly videos about ideas, tools, and strategies to help you building a life that you love. And building a life that you love usually does not happen in the comfort zone. So today's video is all about what it actually means to step outside of it, how scary it actually is, and why pushing through that comfort will actually make you achieve the things that you most want in life. And before we dive into the video, I want to give a quick disclaimer. Because if you are comfortable right now, if you're generally happy with your life, then this video is not for you. Because of course, if you're able to enjoy your life, stay where you are, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're someone that says, yeah, my life is just fine, but not great, or everyone else's life feels so much more exciting than mine, then keep watching. Because it is important to understand that comfort doesn't hit you suddenly. It is something that really slowly creeps into your life without you even realizing. One day you will wake up and realize that you have been doing the same thing in the exact same way for years. And that can be scary. It's not exactly that you're unhappy, but you just feel like there's something off with your life. Maybe you feel restless, irritated, you scroll a little bit too much on your phone, you don't feel like you have a real purpose, and you avoid thinking too far in the future because you're scared of what the answer might be. If so many people are not fulfilled with their life, why are not more people stepping outside their comfort zone and start building a life that they want? And the answer to that is that we constantly assume that something terrible will happen when we step outside of our comfort zone. Somehow we're scared of failure, embarrassment, losing everything, and maybe ending up lonely. However, in reality, those things usually don't happen. Because most of the things that you fear are simply things that our brains made up in order to keep you comfortable. The first question that we should ask ourselves is, why are our brains wired in order to keep us inside our comfort zone? And the answer to that is very simple, because our brains are not designed for happiness, they are designed to keep us safe. Because thousands and hundreds of thousands of years ago, leaving the familiar was dangerous. Back then, meeting a new tribe was met with a lot of uncertainty, and it was a possible threat to the people. Another example would be that if you move into a new environment, of course you're not aware of all the hidden dangers and you have more risk. So today, when you think about quitting your job, moving abroad, or starting your own company, you're faced with the same fear that our ancestors were faced with. And your brain is still reacting the same way it would when our ancestors saw a wild animal. Your brain is basically yelling at you and saying, don't do it, this is risky, you're not ready, and stay in your comfort zone. So the reason why you feel fear, why you're hesitating, why you're tending to overthink is not because of a danger, it's because our brains are still running on this ancient software that was installed hundreds, thousands of years ago. And therefore your tendency to stay inside the comfort zone is perfectly normal, because that's what our brains are wired to do. So breaking out of your comfort zone is feeling scary because it's supposed to do. And if you're feeling scared, then this means that your brain is just acting normal. So therefore, the next natural question should be, why should I even attempt to break out of my comfort zone if my brain is already wired against it? And I think the easiest answer is just by providing an example about myself. Because for me, about 10 years ago, I was working my job, I was 20, and my fear of stepping out of my comfort zone was not about the risk, but it was the fear of what I saw in front of me. Because back then I had a good look at the people that were surrounding me at my job, and I was looking at my superiors that were basically 10 years ahead of me. And even though there were good people, hardworking people, and I really liked them, their life was not something that I was striving for. And this thought would simply not let me go, and it would lead to the understanding that every second of your life is a decision about your future. Every decision that you make in life, no matter how big or small, is shaping your future in either a way that you want or a way that you don't want it. So showing up every day to work is a decision that you're making. Sending a work email is a decision that you're making. Having a difficult conversation at work is a decision that you're making. But also falling on the couch and doom scrolling for 2 hours after work is also a decision that you're making that is shaping your future. And while this realization was setting in, the fear of changing was replaced with a fear of not changing. And of course, I'd love to say that after having this insight, my life immediately completely changed. I was all of a sudden confident and I took the jump outside my comfort zone, but this is not exactly how it happened. Because it took a long time, and little by little, the discomfort of where I was staying was becoming bigger than the fear of changing. And this took me a couple of years, but eventually I reached my breaking point. So naturally, the next question is what happened once I started breaking out of my comfort zone, or more importantly, what actually didn't happen. My first big decision that really moved me outside my comfort zone was to leave my home country and move abroad to Sweden. And I still vividly remember that I had the fear of being isolated, without friends, without network, and no idea what I was actually doing there. However, this fear has never materialized. Instead, the exact opposite started happening in my life. I met people with completely different backgrounds, different cultures. I learned new languages, but most importantly, I felt like I was creating a life that I chose and not one that I inherited. But most importantly, the fears that I had of moving abroad never happened in real life. The second big decision that really moved me outside my comfort zone was to start my own company. And that was one of the biggest leaps for me. Because all of a sudden there was no guaranteed paycheck, no structure, and no safety net. There was just the pure excitement of building something from scratch. And before starting, there was a lot of fear. I was terrified that I would lose everything. While other friends were starting their careers, I was building my startup with no guaranteed outcome. There was a big fear of failure, big fear of making mistakes, and big fear of actually wasting my time. But here's the crazy and unbelievable truth, because even though the business was not successful after having worked for 3 years on it, I gained back way more than I ever risked. And in those 3 years, I have built so many valuable connections and so much unique experience that the fear of wasting my time did never actually happen. Another big step outside my comfort zone was actually to take my financial matters into my own hands by investing into real estate. And besides moving abroad and starting my own company, that was one of the scariest decisions that I had made at the time. Because signing off a loan that big, you really hope that you were right and that your calculation will add up. However, there was of course no guarantee for that. And I remember back then my fear thinking, what if I miscalculated? What if something breaks? Or what if this whole thing completely collapses financially? And of course the fear was real, but it never actually happened in reality. And the final and most recent decision that really took me outside my comfort zone is to start this YouTube channel. Because let's be honest, starting a YouTube channel is uncomfortable as hell. Putting your face out there, your thoughts, your voice, talking to camera, learning all those new skills is really taking everyone outside their comfort zone. And everybody would be lying if they wouldn't have those thoughts or fears about what if people think I'm cringe, or what if nobody watches, or what if I embarrass myself. But again, those thoughts and fears are only happening in your own head and never happen in actual real life. Because what actually happens is that I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm connecting with people I never thought I would connect, and over the long term I'm also building something to be proud of. All those fears of looking stupid, being cringe, nobody watching, you're embarrassing yourself, they actually never happen, and you will find that people are way more supportive than you think they are. Now that I gave you 4 examples out of my own life on how I moved outside my comfort zone and how my fears never materialized, I hope that you are inspired to do the same. And in order to help you with that, I prepared 3 steps that you can take today in order to expand your comfort zone. Step 1 is that you have to become aware that you are living in your comfort zone. Because as I mentioned before, comfort is creeping into your life, and you constantly have to ask yourself in what area of your life you have got gotten too comfortable. That could be in your job, in your relationship, in the environment that you surround yourself with, your daily routines. Anything that is really defining your life can be a comfort zone trap for you. One technique that really helped me in order to understand where I am in my comfort zone and where I'm not is to write it down and put a name on your comfort zone, just calling it out. And ask yourself the question, what does this comfort cost me? So what are the opportunity costs? What can I do instead in order to actually build a life that I love? Step 2, and that is a very important one, is don't tell anyone about your goals. And maybe that sounds a bit strange, but let me explain. Because by telling other people about your goals, you will invite their fears, their doubt, their judgment, and their expectations into your process. And suddenly, you stepping out of your comfort zone doesn't feel like a leap anymore, but it feels like a performance for other people. And the problem with that is that the number one fear of why people never break out of their comfort zone is the fear of being judged publicly or to fail publicly. So when you're in the early stage, don't tell anyone about your goals, keep them private, and build your confidence without anyone noticing. Then the third and last step is to stretch your comfort zone daily and making it a habit of getting out of your comfort zone. Because breaking out of your comfort zone is usually not this one big magical Hollywood moment. It's more a series of small, uncomfortable actions that you take every single day in order to expand your comfort zone slowly but steadily. Start installing small but simple systems that make you break your comfort zone every single day. So start applying to that job that you're not 100% qualified for, say yes to opportunities that you would usually say no to, and try something that actually feels scary to you. Because every step, no matter how small, that you take out of your comfort zone, you will start growing and making progress will become so much easier. So that is it for today's video, and if you only take one thing away from watching this video, it is that if it feels scary to leave your comfort zone, that is perfectly normal. But the nightmare scenarios and the worst case scenarios that you're imagining and that your mind is making up will never happen in real life. It will never be as bad as you think it will be. Because the real danger is not in changing and not in stepping outside your comfort zone, it is to stay exactly where you are and not grow at all. Comment below the last time that you stepped out of your comfort zone and what you took away from that experience. Subscribe to my channel and see you in the next video.